You wake up, go to the kitchen, prepare your breakfast, and take that pill that promises to protect your eyesight. Maybe it's an eye vitamin, maybe it's a supplement someone recommended, maybe an omega-3 capsule you bought at the drugstore. You swallow it with water, with juice, with milk, and go on with the day. But for the next 2 hours, you make a mistake that throws all that effort in the trash. A mistake that makes almost nothing of what you have taken actually reach your eyes. And the worst? This mistake is so common that millions of people repeat it every day, believing that they are taking care of themselves. And I'm not talking about something you do once in a while. I'm talking about a daily automatic habit that you've probably been maintaining for years. Watch this carefully. Every morning when you take your eye vitamin without a specific detail, you're literally wasting money and, more seriously, leaving your visual cells unprotected. And the silence of this process is what makes it dangerous, because you will only realize the damage many years later when your vision is already compromised. But today, my friends, I'm going to explain what no one explains in the 15-minute consultation. I'm not going to prescribe anything. I'll just reveal the mechanism behind this mistake and how a simple change, based on how your body actually works, can change the course of your visual health. And it all starts with a yellow layer that you have in the back of your eye and that you've probably never heard of. This layer is called macula, and it is responsible for clear vision, the ability to read, to recognize faces, to see the details of the grandchild playing in the park. The macula is like a natural shield that protects the most sensitive part of the retina. But this shield is not fixed. It wears out over time, and what many people don't know is that wear and tear is not inevitable. It is accelerated by small everyday gestures that go unnoticed. And here's the central question that will guide this entire video. Why do some people who take the right vitamins, who follow the basic recommendations, still lose their sight? Why does the effort not seem to work? The answer lies in a mechanism that most people ignore, and which I will reveal in detail. But first, I want to make 2 concrete promises. First promise: by the end of this video, you'll understand exactly how nutrients get to your eyes and what you do every day that blocks that pathway. Second promise: I will show you how a simple correction, which costs no more money or more time, can, according to the evidence, begin to make a difference in a few weeks. It's not a miracle, it's physiology. And you will realize that the system often treats the symptom, blurred vision, eye strain, but not the cause, which is on your plate, in your glass, in your morning habits. Think about the dimension of this. If you are over 50 years old, your eyes have already accumulated decades of exposure to light, the sun, pollution. And with each passing day, the protective layer of the macula is either strengthened or degraded. And what determines this direction is not just what you take, but how you take it, when you take it, and what you combine it with. The 15-minute consultation has no time to explain this. The industry often sells the supplement, but does not teach the correct way to use it. And that's why I'm here, to fill that gap. Let's go to what science shows us about the real functioning of the eyes. In the center of the macula, there are 2 pigments that act like natural sunglasses, lutein and zeaxanthin. These names may sound strange, but they are substances that you find in common foods, such as spinach, kale, corn, egg yolks. Lutein and zeaxanthin are deposited in the macula and form a barrier that filters blue light, that high-energy light that comes from the sun, cell phone screens, modern light bulbs. Without this barrier, blue light hits the cells of the retina directly, causing a wear and tear that scientists call oxidative stress. In simple terms, it is as if the cells rust. Now, pay attention to this detail. Lutein and zeaxanthin are substances that only dissolve in fat. This means that when you eat a raw spinach salad without olive oil, for example, you absorb very little of these pigments. When you take a lutein supplement with a glass of water or with skim juice, absorption may be minimal. Studies published in scientific journals of nutrition and ophthalmology show that the presence of a small amount of healthy fat, such as olive oil, avocado oil, or even the natural fat from an egg, can increase the absorption of these pigments by several times. Here's what almost no one explains. Most eye supplements come in tablets that you take orally, but if you don't eat fat in the same meal, the transport of these pigments through the intestine and blood to the retina is compromised. The mechanism is physiological. Gut cells need fat to pack these nutrients into tiny particles called chylomicrons, which travel around the body and deliver what's needed where it's needed. Without fat, chylomicrons don't form properly, and lutein ends up being eliminated without ever reaching the eyes. And this is not theory. It is basic biochemistry of the human body. But there's more. Lutein and zeaxanthin do not work alone. They need a partner, omega-3s, especially a type called DHA, which is an essential component of retinal cell membranes. DHA maintains the fluidity of cells, allowing visual signals to be transmitted quickly. Without DHA, communication between vision cells slows down, and the macula loses its ability to repair. And here comes the first mistake that cancels out the benefit. Many people take omega-3 supplements, but continue to consume refined vegetable oils, such as soybean oil, corn oil, sunflower oil, which are rich in omega-6. Excess omega-6 creates an inflammatory state in the body, and this chronic inflammation reaches the tiny blood vessels in the retina, negating the anti-inflammatory effects of omega-3s. It's as if you're filling a bucket with a hole. You put the good nutrient in, but the inflammatory environment destroys it before it can act. Population surveys indicate that people on a diet high in omega-6 and low in omega-3 have a higher risk of age-related macular degeneration, the leading cause of blindness after the age of 50, and the average age of the patients I see in the office with these problems is dropping. Before, I expected to see advanced macular degeneration in people over 70, 75 years old. Now I see patients aged 60, 65 already with worrying signs. The reason? Modern eating habits, combined with the wrong use of supplements. The first revelation I make here is this. The real enemy is not a lack of supplements, but the silent inflammation caused by refined oils and the absence of good fats at the right time. This changes everything because it means you could be spending money on vitamins while also fueling the process that destroys your vision. For you to understand the severity of this inflammation, imagine that inside your eye there is a network of blood vessels so thin that they are more delicate than strands of hair. These vessels nourish the retina. When inflammation sets in, the walls of these vessels begin to leak tiny amounts of fluid and blood. Over time, this leak forms deposits called drusen, which are like small pebbles that accumulate under the retina, hindering the passage of light and nutrients. Drusen are the warning sign of macular degeneration. The scary thing is that they don't hurt. You don't feel anything. He only notices it when the central vision begins to become distorted, as if a straight line appears wavy. And then, many times, the damage is already advanced. The good news, my friends, is that inflammation can be reduced and the buildup of drusen can be slowed down if you act on the causes. And one of the most ignored causes is the imbalance between omega-6 and omega-3. Let me explain. Omega-6 in balanced amounts is not a villain. It is present in seeds and oil seeds. The problem is the excess, which comes from refined oils added to cookies, snacks, margarines, ready-made spices, and fried foods. These oils go through industrial processes that oxidize them. That is, they already arrive at your body damaged, and also stimulate the production of inflammatory substances. Meanwhile, omega-3s found in cold water fish like sardines, tuna, salmon, as well as flaxseed and chia act like a firefighter, putting out the fire of inflammation. But if the ratio of omega-6 to omega-3 is too high, the fire wins. In modern diets, this ratio can reach 20-1, when the ideal would be something around 4-1. Think about the scale of it. Every mouthful of processed food, every pastry, every frozen pizza is tilting the scales against your eyes silently. And if you still take your omega-3 supplement with soybean oil in your food, you're mixing the medicine with the poison. The absorption of omega-3 also competes with that of omega-6 in cell membranes. It is as if the molecules were fighting for a parking space in the cell. If the vacancies are occupied by oxidized omega-6, the omega-3 cannot enter and perform its function. This is pure cellular physiology. And here's what almost no one explains. It's not enough to take omega-3s. It is necessary to actively reduce the consumption of refined vegetable oils. This double action is what really makes the difference. I had a patient, Mr. Olavo, 68 years old, a retired bus driver. He came to the office with blurred central vision, already diagnosed with initial macular degeneration. He told me, "Doctor, I take omega-3 capsules every single day. I don't understand why my eyesight is getting worse." When I investigated his diet, I discovered that he ate bread with margarine 3 times a day, since he was 20 years old. In addition, his wife fried egg and steak with soybean oil, the kind that comes in a PET bottle. he was unknowingly flooding the body with omega-6s and trans fats. I asked him to replace the margarine with olive oil, and to cook with olive oil or coconut oil. 3 months later, the scans showed that the drusen's progression had slowed. His vision did not improve, but it stopped getting worse. For him, it was an immense relief. He told me, "Doctor, now I understand that it's no use just taking the medicine. You have to stop throwing gasoline on the fire." This phrase marked me, and that's exactly it. The health system often prescribes omega-3s and stops there. It does not investigate the patient's plate. The 15-minute consultation does not give you time to ask if you use soybean oil or olive oil. But this small change could be the game changer. Now, I want to slow down a little bit. I want you to think about your routine. Remember that morning when you woke up, went to the bathroom, and when you looked in the mirror, you felt that your eyes were more tired than usual? Or that moment in the supermarket when you had to move the product away to read the price because the small print was blurry? Maybe you attributed it to age, to tiredness, and thought, it's normal, it's part of it. But what if it's not just normal? What if these small signs are the result of years of small mistakes that no one taught you to correct? I see this every day in the office. Mrs. Helena, 64 years old, a retired teacher, came to me with the complaint that she was exchanging letters while reading. She did everything that television and magazines said. She took her eye vitamin religiously, ate salad every day, avoided the sun without sunglasses. But she took the smoothie with tea in the middle of the afternoon, away from meals. And the salad? It was seasoned with ready-made sauce, the kind that comes in jars, full of soybean oil and preservatives. She was unknowingly sabotaging her own effort, and the feeling she described of doing everything right and still failing is one of the most painful a patient can feel. But here's the good news. When she understood the mechanism and made the adjustments, within a few months, the progression of degeneration stalled. He did not go back, but stopped. And for those who were slowly losing their sight, stopping was already a victory. My friends, vision is not an isolated organ. It is connected to everything, to your gut, to your circulation, to your sleep, to what you eat, and especially to how you eat. And that's what we're going to talk about now, in more depth. Because there are other elements that go into this dance, and the next one might surprise you. A new element, vitamin C. Everyone knows that vitamin C is good for the eyes, helps prevent cataracts, strengthens blood vessels. But what almost no one knows is that vitamin C is sensitive to heat and storage. Many people drink orange juice to obtain vitamin C, but industrialized juice, even those that claim to be 100% natural, go through a pasteurization process that destroys much of the vitamin. The common mistake that cancels out the benefit: you buy a juice box thinking it's protecting your eyes, but you're basically ingesting sugar water and a remnant of oxidized vitamin C. The actual physiological mechanism, vitamin C inside the eye, in the aqueous and vitreous humor, acts as an antioxidant that neutralizes free radicals generated by light. But for it to enter the eye, it needs to be carried by specific proteins that depend on a concentration gradient. If you consume little vitamin C from real sources, such as fresh fruits, acerola, kiwi, peppers, this gradient is low, and protection decreases. The connection to real life. Anyone who eats a freshly peeled orange or a piece of guava for breakfast is providing active vitamin C as well as fiber that helps reduce systemic inflammation. But the detail that changes everything. If you eat this fruit together with a source of good fat, for example, some nuts or a drizzle of olive oil in fruit salad, the absorption of other fat-soluble nutrients is enhanced. No, vitamin C doesn't need fat to be absorbed, but the environment of the meal matters. And here's the micro cliffhanger. This goes for vitamin C, but what I'm going to reveal now about another nutrient is even more critical and much less obvious. Pay attention to this next detail. The new element is zinc. Zinc is an essential mineral for vision because it helps transport vitamin A from the liver to the retina. Without zinc, vitamin A cannot be transformed into rhodopsin, the pigment that enables night vision. Many eye supplements include zinc, and the daily recommendation for seniors is about 8 to 11 milligrams. But the common mistake, taking zinc along with coffee or tea. Coffee and tea contain tannins, which bind to zinc in the gut and block its absorption. If you take your vitamin supplement with a cup of coffee, you're literally throwing the zinc away. The physiological mechanism. Tannins form insoluble complexes with minerals such as zinc, iron, and calcium, preventing them from crossing the intestinal wall. Clinical studies show that zinc absorption can drop by half when consumed with black tea, for example. The connection with real life. Mr. Juon, a 72-year-old patient of mine, complained that he could not see well at night to drive. He took his eye supplement with black coffee every morning. When we adjusted the schedule, take the supplement with water and wait at least an hour before breakfast. In a few weeks, he noticed improvement in adapting to the dark. It wasn't magic. It was corrected physiology. And the micro cliffhanger. But zinc has another secret. It competes with another mineral for absorption, and if you take both at the same time, one cancels out the other. What is this mineral? I'll tell you right away. The mineral that competes with zinc is copper. The body needs a delicate balance between zinc and copper. High doses of zinc, common in some eye supplements, can lead to a copper deficiency over time because zinc stimulates the production of a protein that sequesters copper in the gut. The common mistake: taking supplements with high doses of zinc without monitoring copper, especially if you already have a diet low in copper-rich foods such as nuts, seeds, liver, dark chocolate. The mechanism: copper is necessary for the formation of collagen and elastin, proteins that support the cornea and the sclera, the white part of the eye. Without copper, the structure of the eye can weaken, and there are even associations with a rare type of anemia that affects vision. The connection to real life. One patient, 69-year-old Marlene, began to feel her eyes sunken and her cornea less resistant after years of using a high-potency zinc supplement that a neighbor recommended. She didn't know that too much of one nutrient can cause a lack of another. Fortunately, we adjusted the dose and included copper-source foods, and the condition stabilized. This brings us to a crucial point. Supplementation without knowledge can be a double-edged sword. And now, I'm going to reveal a nighttime habit that cancels out much of your daytime effort. Something that almost everyone does before bed and that impairs vision in a way you never imagined. The nocturnal habit: exposure to blue light without protection. You've probably heard that using a cell phone or tablet before bed disrupts sleep. But what few explain is how it directly affects your eyes, in addition to digital fatigue. Blue light, especially in the spectrum of 450 to 490 nanometers, penetrates deep into the eye and reaches the macula. During the day, lutein and zeaxanthin help filter this light. But at night, when the pupil is more dilated in the dark, exposure to a bright screen can be even more intense. In addition, blue light suppresses the production of melatonin, the sleep hormone. What almost no one tells you is that melatonin also acts as a powerful antioxidant inside the eye. It helps clear metabolic waste from the retina during sleep. If you don't sleep well or expose yourself to blue light late at night, your eyes miss out on that nightly cleaning. The common mistake: using the phone in normal mode before bed, without a blue light filter and without adjusting the brightness. Many devices have a night light function, but people don't activate it or don't know that it really helps their eyes. The connection to real life. Patients who report dry eyes, burning, and blurry vision in the morning often have the habit of reading news or messages on their cell phones for 30 or 40 minutes before turning off the light. The simple solution: turn on the blue light filter 2 hours before bed, reduce the brightness of the screen, and, if possible, wear glasses with slightly yellowish lenses that block blue light. This is no frills. It is protection based on the light spectrum. And now, the micro cliffhanger. But there's one food that everyone celebrates as an ally of vision, and it may be quietly sabotaging you. I'll reveal what it is, and the mechanism is amazing. Before I continue, my friends, I want to pause here. So far, we've talked about lutein, zeaxanthin, omega-3s, zinc, copper, vitamin C, blue light, and how the gut affects all of these. If you are understanding the depth of this connection, leave your like, subscribe to the channel, and comment on your city or country. I want to see where you are from. And tell me, which of these mistakes do you think you're making without realizing it? Remember, this content is educational and does not replace consultation with your doctor. Each case is unique. But the information I'm bringing here can be the starting point for a deeper conversation with your health professional. Now, let's move on, because I still have a revelation that connects all of this and a simple strategy that you can start today. The traitorous food: margarine and hydrogenated vegetable oils. For decades, margarine has been promoted as a healthy alternative to butter, as it is plant-based and has lower cholesterol. But what the industry hasn't told you is that the hydrogenation process creates trans fats, which are misshapen molecules that the body doesn't recognize. These trans fats become embedded in cell membranes, including retinal cells, making them rigid and inflamed. Think of the cells in your retina as little islands that need oil to keep their edges flexible. If you use a poor quality oil, such as trans fat, the edges become hard, brittle, and communication between cells fails. The macula, which depends on precise cellular architecture, begins to degrade. And here's the heaviest revelation. Many products that claim to be healthy or light contain refined vegetable oils, such as soybean oil, canola oil, sunflower oil, which, even though they are not hydrogenated, when heated and processed, generate inflammatory compounds called aldehydes. These aldehydes circulate through the blood and can cross the blood-retinal barrier, causing direct damage to the retina. In animal studies, diets rich in refined vegetable oils accelerated retinal degeneration. In humans, observational research shows a correlation between high consumption of trans fats and increased risk of macular degeneration. The enemy, my friends, is not the fat itself, it is the wrong fat, combined with the lack of the right fats. Extra virgin olive oil, avocados, nuts, fatty fish like salmon and sardines, these are the fats that feed your eyes. But if you smear margarine on bread every morning, or cook with soybean oil every day, you're slowly poisoning your visual cells. And the most shocking detail, this damage is cumulative and silent. You don't feel pain, you don't see redness. He only realizes years later when the sharpness goes away. Now, pay attention to this additional mechanism, which is the final climax, the health of your gut. Yes, the gut and the eyes are connected by what we call the gut-retinal axis. The good bacteria in your gut produce substances called short-chain fatty acids, which have systemic anti-inflammatory effects. When you eat processed foods full of emulsifiers and preservatives, you alter your microbiota, reducing these good substances and increasing intestinal permeability. This allows toxins to enter the bloodstream and reach the eyes, triggering inflammation. Seemingly harmless foods such as white bread, crackers, ice cream may be fueling this cycle. And the mistake that cancels it out, you can take the best supplement in the world, but if your intestine is inflamed, the absorption of all nutrients is compromised. It's like watering a plant with a hole in the hose. The water goes away before it reaches the root. One patient, Mr. Antonio, 67 years old, had a diet rich in supplements, but also consumed a lot of sausages and soft drinks. His eyesight worsened every year. When we changed the diet to include fermented foods, such as natural yogurt and sauerkraut, and reduced industrialized foods, the progression of degeneration slowed down significantly. The body has an incredible ability to respond when we give it the right tools. And there's one more surprising element: astaxanthin. Astaxanthin is a reddish pigment found in algae and in seafood, such as salmon and shrimp. It is one of the most potent antioxidants for the eyes, able to cross the blood-retinal barrier and protect cells from damage from UV and blue light. But the common mistake, astaxanthin is very sensitive to light and oxygen. If you buy an astaxanthin supplement that comes in a clear bottle, or if you store it in a clear place, the compound can degrade quickly. And the physiological mechanism. Astaxanthin acts as a fire extinguisher inside the cell, neutralizing several species of free radicals at the same time. But to work, it needs to be intact. The real-life connection. People who take astaxanthin regularly report lower eye strain and better focus. But those who don't pay attention to storage may be ingesting an inactive capsule. Pay attention to this detail. Store your supplements in a dark and cool place and prefer amber or opaque bottles. This goes for many nutrients. We have reached the point of tying up all the ends. What can you do starting today to truly protect your vision without falling into the traps that nullify your efforts? First, understand that your eyes are not isolated organs. They are the reflection of your overall health. Every cell in your retina depends on what you put on your plate, your sleep, your exposure to light. The most powerful change you can make is to swap refined oils for real fats. Use olive oil for low-heat cooking and for seasoning. Eat avocado, include cold water fish twice a week. Add a small portion of nuts, such as 2 Brazil nuts a day, which provides selenium, another eye protectant. When taking an eye supplement, do it with a meal that contains fat. It can be a scrambled egg for breakfast, a little olive oil in the lunch salad, a full-fat yogurt with flaxseed. Avoid drinking coffee or black tea for at least an hour after the supplement, so as not to block the zinc. And at night, create a ritual. 2 hours before bed, dim the lights in the house, turn on your phone's night filter, and if you can, read a physical book instead of a screen. Your eyes will thank you, and your sleep will improve, and this feeds back into eye protection. But I want to speak directly to you who are watching right now. I know there is a tiredness of trying to do everything right and still feeling that the body does not respond, a silent fear of losing independence, of no longer being able to read, of not recognizing the faces of those you love. Modern medicine often focuses on remedying the damage after it has been done, but true autonomy lies in understanding the mechanisms before the damage happens. The evidence I shared today is not empty promises. They are based on how the human body works, and this is a science that is available to everyone, not just experts. Each morning, you have a choice. Stick to the habits that quietly wear down your vision, or make small adjustments that over time can preserve the sharpness, the colors, the details that give meaning to life. It's not about living in fear. It's about living with awareness. And as a gesture of care, I ask you to share this video with someone you love, someone who may be making these mistakes without knowing it, a brother, a friend, a neighbor, because often information that can change a life comes through those who care. Don't share for marketing, share for love, because every week without this information is a week of silent damage building up. And now, my friends, one final detail. Nature has given us eyes to see the world, but the wisdom to take care of them is in each one of us. See you next time.